Today's episode is a very popular trend right now. Unlock the secret to enhance health with hydrogen-enriched water. If you haven't heard of hydrogen yet, then you haven't been listening. So today I have a really special, amazing guest I've been excited to talk to. We're going to discover how this revolutionary trend can boost your cognitive function, improve gut health, and fight inflammation. Welcome to the Crystal Zen podcast. I believe our bodies are a living map of the entire universe. All the answers reside within. Remember, you are sovereign, whole, and infinitely valuable. And the best gift we can give to the world is our own healing. Join me as we explore holistic tools, spiritual practices, and paradigms that are shifting the way people experience life, business, and relationships. I love to share education on the most recent medical research and cutting-edge technology on anatomy, neurology, trauma, development, and more to give us a foundation in understanding how to align, utilize, and upregulate our physical systems. Ultimately, this podcast is a witness and support to people on their journey of remembering, an inspiration for all of us to keep going, and a reminder that we are not alone. How this hydrogen-enriched water could be the key to a healthier, more vibrant life. So welcome to the Crystal Zen podcast. I'm so excited to still be at the beginning of season 2 here, which seems to be more of just a live learning discussion rather than like dispensing all the things that I've learned over the last 20 years. And so I'm really on this journey embodying all of these things with my guests this year, which is a really unique and fun turn as we kind of sit and go through this together. A lot of my guests are also really amazing and really vulnerable and brave to come on and kind of share not only the things they're experts in, but current learning and current relationships, and it's just a new way of being. So thank you for being here and joining me sort of on this embodiment journey, I feel like is the theme. So today I have Trayce Waterlyn with me, and he's just got incredible credentials, incredible experience in life. We have a lot of the same hobbies, and he's got so many more I was really interested in when we first connected. So hi Trayce, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Hello.
And what we do, and my listeners know, is we just tune in right away to just kind of clear the space so that the important things and the things that are on our hearts come up. So if you're in a place where it's safe to do so, go ahead and close your eyes. Tune into your breath. Today, option to turn palms up or place one hand over your navel and the other on top of that. And we're just going to notice some of our biofeedback. How is your belly moving? Trace the path that the breath follows in your body as you do less, a gentler, softer inhale. And maybe a releasing. It might even feel kind of heavy on the exhale. Starting to pick up the feedback, the vibrations, the feelings in your body. Listen to them as sound. And then take one more clearing breath. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. And while we're still a little bit tuned in, we're going to play a tone for you. We have extra guests today. Jace, I wonder if you'd be willing to hit that special sound bowl, and we'll talk to you about it a little bit later today. So as you consider coming back, feel your body and listen to this note. Thank you. Let's go back to Trayce. Today, why I told you I was so excited to have Trayce is because he's a remarkable individual who has seamlessly blended the worlds of comedy and consulting hypnosis. So if you don't know what that is, we will find out. With an impressive career spanning over 32 years, he's carved out a unique stage hypnotism, bringing laughter and insight to countless audiences. So currently he's part of Echo Technologies, and that's kind of how our paths crossed, where he continues to make significant strides. His role there encapsulates his vast experience and knowledge and contributes to advancements in hydrogen-enriched water. So we're going to dive into the world of hypnotism and understand its intersection with comedy and discover how his expertise in health technology is shaping the future. That tone we played earlier definitely is still breaking something up in my throat chakra. So I'm going to let Trayce take it from there while my throat recovers a little bit and tell us a little more about how you got here and a little bit more about yourself.
Great, thanks. Maybe I could go back a little ways with my family. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I was a very hyperactive child. I see it as very enthusiastic. But my father was an educator, and he would come in at night and he would walk me through relaxation. Visualize the sun, visualize your muscles relaxing. And he would do this every night with me to assist me in being able to go to sleep. And that was kind of my first early nuance of getting in, maybe to the health field, the hypnosis. And then when I went to high school, I was a cross-country runner. And my dad says, hey, there's another teacher here at the high school that teaches hypnosis. And his name is Ken Erickson. He was wonderful. And I'm like, yeah, you'll help me with my cross-country running? And he says, oh, yeah, sports hypnosis, it'll be great. So I went to a session with Ken, and that one session just, I still get goosebumps talking about it. It was so just me. I could visualize. We went through some different types of hypnosis tests, and so every night I would visualize my running. And I got to the point where I got so good at it that my body just it's time to do this type of practice. And the body doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is make-believe. And so as I vividly imagined that I was running my races, and I would set up different strategies to run faster and better and longer and feel better, my body continued to adapt. And this was a freshman in high school. Back then the races were 2 miles long. My best race was 9 minutes and 20 seconds. It's a good race for a freshman. My mile mark, I was at 4 minutes and 20 seconds at my mile mark. So that kind of got me going. I was voted most valuable Frost Off Runner of the Year that year. My grades went up because I was learning how to concentrate. So the byproduct from being able to use your imagination, concentrate, just gets into all of your life. So that was my start.
I love that, and I'm so glad you shared that, because instead of bedtime stories and lullabies, I need to add that in when I put my kids to bed.
It makes a huge difference. And if you have a finger puppet, while they're laying there, you can have them just look up a little bit so their eyes are kind of going through their eyebrows, and use the finger puppet to talk to them, because that position of the eyes helps relax the entire body. Then pretty soon the eyes get tired, eyelids go down, and the body goes into that deep rest. So
thank you for that. Almost like a third eye drishti, right? Yep. Like if you're kind of up, and thank you for that.
Yeah, good tip, huh?
That is the best tip already. Thank you.
I use it on myself, not while I'm driving though.
No, not when I'm talking. Yeah, when I have company, or I'm gonna look like a weirdo. But maybe in yoga we can kind of metaphorically, right, have that drishti. That's so fun.
So that was my start into the hypnosis. My mom was very into teas and some good health that way too. And so I've never been prone to the Western medicine, though I think being educated in all areas is what rounds us out, because there is definitely positive times to use different types of medicine when it's appropriate. And so a flexible mind is powerful.
I agree. That was my background, was Western med. I'm headed to med school before I kind of switched gears, and I have a deep appreciation for both. But what does that look like now in your family today?
Well, I was able to, so far, raise 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls. My wife definitely took on a large task, and she has her own wonderful story of meat and potatoes Western medicine from Idaho, and I'm sorry, from Wyoming. Sorry, all the Wyoming people. But when we got married, we went to work for a chiropractor, my brother-in-law, at the West Coast Chiropractic Center Huntington Beach, California, and this is going in a really weird direction. She, I almost did not continue to date her because when I saw her X-rays, she had like 9 subluxations. Her pelvis was all twisted up from an accident that she had when she was 6. And I'm like, oh man, a baby's never going to come through that pelvis. So,
oh my God. I was wondering why. I was like, what's the criteria for dating you when you were young?
It was terrible.
Flexible spine. But I see the correlation.
Yeah. And, but we got married, and she got good, years of chiropractic treatment, and was able to birth all of our kids naturally. We had some underwater. Most of them were at home. I got to catch, and it was a really delightful experience. So she's also kind of like gone from that whole Western mindset to more embracing more of different way of thinking and doing things. So we were probably a little ahead of our time in certain areas. I mean, even back then, if you breastfed in public, everybody like freak out.
I know. So I was wondering if I should make a comment on that, because for you to have parents who taught you that when you were so small, that does seem like an anomaly. It doesn't seem like a lot of this stuff is getting more common now, but was it then? Do you feel like you were learning things your peers were not learning?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I was definitely on that fringe. So it's and I've always been kind of like that. I like to push the envelope. I like to see what my body can do. Been blessed with a very strong body. I'm 62 now, and I'm still able to run, and we'd like to run the trails up here on the hills with our dogs, and so it's fun. But she went into ultimately. I told her, you'd be the best midwife. You should be a midwife. And she's like, no, I don't want to be responsible for all these lives, And so she became a doula. And then from there, she became a direct entry midwife here in Utah. Mm-hmm. And then at 42-ish, she goes I want to go back to college and become a nurse. And she worked in labor and delivery for years.
Wow.
So she has a good balance of education. Yeah. So both of us have our areas that we enjoy, and it's good because we're progressing beings, and we have our areas that give us an opportunity to grow, and these things have been very healthy for us. So,
well, I appreciate that. I think that's really cool, especially in my industry and some of my peers, because we're always looking to people to learn from who have lived this longer than us, right? Like our gurus and the people who can pass it down. And in this day and age, right, it seems to kind of be like the babies that are being born now are the ones that are going to have grown up with it their whole life. So, having a family like yours or meeting a person like you and your wife is just kind of such a gold mine for me. Like when we talk about things, it's not like talking to my peers who's like, yeah, I discovered this yesterday like you did. It's like, you're like, yeah, I've been doing this my whole life. And I'm like, really? Yeah. So thank you for that generosity and spirit and teachings you're going to share with us today, because it's really valuable.
It's been fun, and I'm grateful for everything that the hypnosis has done for me, because it has allowed me to grow, develop, and expand. I am a Gemini, and so having the consulting part of the hypnosis along with the stage hypnosis was a great balance for me, because I love entertaining. I was in drama in high school, and even pursued acting in Hollywood for a little while, and had a lot of fun. But I have to have a creative outlet in order for me to feel more wholeness and joy. And so if I can be creating, that's really important to me. So the stage shows were unique, because if nobody shows up, or for 1 or 2 people show up, do I have a show? Because I'm not the entertainment.
Okay, wait, can I pause really quick, because I feel like, can you explain this to me a little bit better? So that was your career? Like, this is what you started out doing? Was shows on a stage?
No, not really. I mean, after the chiropractic thing, because that was the direction I was going to go in. I wanted to be a chiropractor.
Okay.
And then I met Dr. Krasner from the American Institute of Hypnotherapy in Irvine, California. And he's like, you should come to my school. And I'm like, yeah, hypnosis, this is great.
Okay.
So in 1992, I became a certified consulting hypnotist. And so
what does that mean?
So back then we could actually use the word clinical hypnosis.
So you're using it
and so therapy. I was using that for therapy for people.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I was going to go. Okay. And then I was at a grad night for a high school, and they had hired a hypnotist for the grad night, and he was horrible. I mean, not like technique-wise. He was a bad person. Anyway, they kicked him off the stage. That's how bad he was.
Oh my goodness.
They're like, you're out of here. You're not appropriate for high school students. And I sat there and I thought, I'm like, man, I really don't want to do stage shows because it's all about healing and assisting people and having this come through me. And then but somebody has to represent our profession in a clean, healthy way. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to put a show together. And I wrote a show out, and my first show was a backyard party, and it was like during the middle of the day, and I must have looked like a deer in the headlights, and got through the show, and I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. Second show was high school grad night. That was super scary. Didn't know anything about stage management, and the kids just flooded the stage, and we were like, it was like a rodeo, just children everywhere and people on the floor, and I was petrified. And when I got done, I'm like, I'm never doing that again. And the school was like, that was so funny. That was the best we've ever seen. We're going to hire you for next year right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So I continued.
Okay.
And I love it. But it is scary because there's a razor's edge. You can go out as a performer and you can do your introduction, but the key is getting people from the audience to feel comfortable enough to come and volunteer.
Okay.
Because what if you don't get anybody?
Yeah.
You're not, it's not like other performers that can play guitar and sing and there's two people in the audience.
Yeah.
So that was what I really liked. What I didn't know at the time is that being on that razor's edge moved me into present time. And my arms, I get goosebumps when I feel truth, because when I'm on stage, everything else goes away. I'm right there, right now, for them, for just living in the now, the moment, the present time. And it's super powerful. Then once people started to come up on stage, I think one of my gifts is that people trust me very quickly. And so I was able to get people up on stage fairly easily. Then we'd go and move them to present time. And who's most in present time? Children.
Okay.
And then we play. And so I have kind of a style and a technique that's different. A lot of hypnotists plan their shows out. I'm very improvisational. Thus, the name of my company is Hypnotic Improv. And I love it's play for me. And I see them when they get into that wonderful state of creativity and visualization, imagination. These people come just alive. And they're like little children again. And it's beautiful. And it's very... their hearts are open, their minds are open, and it's entertainment. I've had people tell me that my shows feel very therapeutic as well, which is wonderful.
Well, that was my question with the therapy background. Like, what's the intent? Because when you're doing a show, the intent is the entertainment, but how does the therapeutic background color and texture what you're doing?
Yeah, so if I can get them into a state and understanding, which I do, they come away empowered as individuals. One of the last things I do in a show is take them through taking something that has been in front of them, that has been blocking them, a habit, something that they want to let go of. And we take that last process, because they're so primed from being entertainment, that now I can do a little bit of a kind of an inspirational moment, and they walk away feeling more empowered. And I remember one Christmas, a lady came. She was the life of the show. She was the best. It was just wonderful. And after the show, she came up and she was just tears. And I'm like, "Oh, are you okay?" I was thinking, did she have an abreaction? And she's like wiping her tears away. She's like, I can't tell you how wonderful that was. I'll be really honest with you. I was going to commit suicide after the party tonight. I've been so depressed for so long, and I didn't know that I could be so freeing. And so thank you. And she was just joyful, and I went, wow, okay.
That's important.
Yeah, there's so much more to doing the show. So I think people enjoy my shows, both being in the audience as well as on stages, because my intent is to entertain, but there's healing involved in that, and assisting them in understanding that they can progress. You know, so that's the part of the entertainment aspect is just beautiful. So I do shows on, you know, for like county fairs, grad nights. I do them for like private parties. During COVID, we did underground high school parties where they would go to prom, and then we would go to a person's house and we would do the show at the person's house, you know. And
cool.
So anyway, so that's a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that's really cool. Thank you for sharing. And what a beautiful thing too. I almost feel like you're showing up in entertainment, but you're kind of like inceptionizing them, you know, in a way that's like really ethical and beautiful and full of light. And I can see how you can use that sort of process for any motive, right? So what a cool, beautiful thing to use it for light and to use it for good. And I think that's what we're tapping into in these other modalities in mindfulness, right?
Yes.
So that's the power of mindfulness, is you are receptive and you're whole and you can tap into miracles. And so being able to create and contain and orchestrate and hold that space, it's powerful, right? A lot of responsibility comes with it. So that's such a cool, unique thing. My mind's just blown. You're just so awesome.
Wow.
How did that transition into working with hydrogen water?
Because I enjoy the health field, I was looking for a company that held my values. And I enjoyed my previous employment was very centered in going to chiropractic conferences. I was a salesperson, and it was just a beautiful experience. Loved being in the health field, totally my niche. Went through the process of looking, and unlike we all do, we go, okay, I've looked, or I've tried, and I've really pushed myself, and then you kind of release and let go and surrender. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I surrendered, I had been doing my visualizations. I knew what I wanted in the type of people I was going to be working for. I wanted someone who's had lots of integrity. I wanted a product that is going to make a difference in people's lives. And and I got a call from the founder, Paul Barataro, and he's like, "Hey, we saw your resume." It's like, and as soon as we started to meet, I was like, "Okay, this feels really spot on." And I had been introduced to hydrogen. We were using the tablets prior to meeting Paul and Josh Carr. And so I was doing the tablets, and then from the tablets, my wife and I listened to Dr. Pampa, who is from Park City, great chiropractor that teaches fasting, and he introduced a pitcher that sits on your counter, and you put filtered water in, you hit a little button, and it produces hydrogen. And I'm like, that's even better than the tablets. The tablets are good, but sometimes there's excipients and other binders that are in there that's not as healthy as we would like. Okay. So getting the hydrogen through the water, mm-hmm. and then getting it into the gut is the best delivery system for hydrogen. There's other ones you can breathe and things like that. Well, we were already doing that, and so when they said, "Well, you know, we do enriched hydrogen water," and I'm like, awesome.
I want to be part of that.
Yeah, cool. and so they're like, "Well, we'd like to hire you as customer service manager," and I'm like, "I don't care, whatever, I'm in the game," and so we got together, and I started on that journey with them, and we're growing tremendously fast due to some people's podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's been a journey, but and I've been with them for 12 months now.
Okay.
And some of these weird stories, some of them I don't like to tell, but first 30 days of being able to drink the hydrogen, like more than I was even with the pitcher, I really didn't understand how much I should be drinking, and so it was just a little bit every day. But working for them, I was drinking hydrogen all day long, and I had 2 warts right there for 5 years. I had been trying to get rid of. I taped them, and I put oil on them, and I'd fast, and I'd pray over them, and then sometimes I'd even cut them off. I'm like, and they would grow back. I'm like, so I was considering having them frozen. But during that first 30 days, I was kind of playing with them a little bit, and they just peeled off and went away. And I'm like, wait a minute, hydrogen kills viruses, germs, and bacteria. It's like a little heat-seeking missile. It's not like just taking something that's to help you systemically. I mean, the hydrogen to me is almost intelligence, because it knows exactly what it needs to do and where to go and how to help. They went away, and 12 months later, they're still gone. So I'm like, okay, I'm a believer that it makes a difference with viruses. And Paul talks about how important it is to use the hydrogen to kill the viruses, and I think that it's all viruses. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah.
So that was very impressive to me. The next thing I started to experience, here I am, 62 years old, and I have all this energy. I've always had good energy, but now it took it to the next level, and I was like finding that I was just like working, and there was 12-hour days, 16-hour days, some days, and I would sleep. I felt really good sleeping, got up the next morning. I had all this energy from the hydrogen. Yeah. My body was starting to function better. So that was the second thing that I noticed. It has, when we take that nice tiny little molecule into our body, it's like, hey, I can help make everything more bio-friendly. And so if you're taking some good vitamins and you're drinking healthy water, and I can make that all more bioavailable to your system, to every cell. And the cell's like, whoa, what are you doing? So the cells, when we have inflammation and oxidative stress, think of them kind of puffy. And the receptor sites, instead of being out there and being ready to receive, now the cell is swollen and the receptor sites are like, oh, I'm not very out there. And so you can take all these vitamins and you can eat all these great foods, but the cell, it's like I'm not able to move things through the gates very easily because I'm swollen and I'm inflamed. The hydrogen brings all that inflammation down in the entire body, and the gut starts to heal. The gut actually changes, having that hydrogen changes the polarity in the gut. And so the bad bacteria that's in there that needs to be diminished or go away, the hydrogen starts to heal the gut.
Yeah, and it would affect so many peripheral or domino effects after that. Can I share one with you?
Yes.
So I had got that type of hydrogen container from that company because I had been asked to guest on a webinar where I broke down some of the actual molecular structure for them of the hydrogen. And as payment, they gave me one of those big pictures, and I was happy to take it. I was like, yes, this is what I want. But my son gets a lot of nosebleeds, especially in the winter, but there's physical, but there's also like energetic components as well to that. And so when I was giving him hydrogen water and I would keep making him drink it, and he'd be like, Mommy, I don't see how bubbles in my water is going to help anything. And I was like, nice. I get that, and I'm glad you asked that question. So I'll try to give you some information on your level. But also, he hasn't had a nosebleed since then. And so I found that really fascinating. And I just want to mention to the listeners that I do want to ask Trayce a little bit about that science and the molecular structure, and stay with us because he has such a beautiful way of explaining it. We're not going to like get really scientific. You won't understand what it means, And also at the end of this portion, for sure, this is all going to come full circle with intention, vibration, some of this sound therapy, and even his meditation. So I just want to put that plug in too. Try to apply a little bit or just kind of absorb mentally. But I was wondering if you would break down, like we did on that webinar, what is it about the structure of hydrogen and the sheets that it forms and how it can pass information? And like, so I just want to say, so Trayce did mention inflammation. So just by reducing inflammation in your body is how you could imagine you would get most of those symptoms, right?
Yeah.
And then optimizing the cell's function is another huge one, which will give you energy, health. And then you also mentioned viruses and bacteria, and that's a little indirect molecular process, right? And how that's helping that. And I have some things in some of the latest discoveries and research about the quantum and the biofeedback that's happening. Like you said, everything's a virus and a bacteria. But it's, I just want to mention simply, because I'll have another podcast on this for sure if you guys are interested, that idea of epidemiology, the old way of thinking, one bacteria, one sickness, right, is kind of a little bit old way of thinking. And there's a lot of new research coming out that it's more about a communication feedback system with your body.
Yeah.
And a lot of that does have to do with the quantum, which we'll just simplify and say intention.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Collapsing quantum events. So now would you go into just a little bit, but palatable, molecular structure, kind of like about this hydrogen? Like let's learn about this hydrogen. We're hearing about it everywhere.
It's becoming extremely popular. I like the fact that it's this. I mean, all of the universe is made up. I mean, it's the smallest molecule. It's tiny, but
it's one on the periodic table, right?
Yeah.
It's
and there's a reason.
Yeah.
And it's so, it's able to permeate so much. But I guess where my mind's going from what you were talking about really is that intention behind our innate body's intelligence, or that innate intelligence within us. And depending on who you are, it's you could call it your spirit, you could call it your body's energy, but that there is a part of us that is below the reticular activator, that part of us that monitors everything that's going on, these billions of bits of information. And as we take that hydrogen into us, and we should normally produce more hydrogen, but because of our standard American diet, or SAD, we just don't produce the same amount of hydrogen that we would normally if we were eating in a much healthier way. And so that extra hydrogen really helps combat the onslaught of environmental toxins that we have, energetic toxins that we have. And then for you and I on a more of a quantum field, there's a lot of lower vibration toxicity, we could say. And so we're striving to elevate. So the vibration, that's really where the magic happens. It's in that vibration. So that molecule, as we take it in, it theoretically speaks and says, hey, you are you, and what can I do for you? So it goes. It's like I said before, it's like a little heat-seeking missile. Boom, boom, boom. I can help with this. And our body begins to function better and better over time. And it's also kind of like compound interest. As you drink this day after day after day, some people notice things very quickly. And I do strive to tell our customers, when you first start drinking hydrogen, write down all of your symptoms and things, just get it down. And then drink, in 30 days, revisit that list and see what's improved, what's gone away, what's new. Because if you don't, you're going to forget. When my wife started drinking, she goes, I really haven't noticed much. And I'm like, well, what about this, and she goes, oh, yeah, those things are better. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. So if you'll do that list, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
That's good advice.
Okay, you'll go, wow, okay, this is, and I'm still experiencing. It's been 12 months of doing this, and I think my cognitive ability has gone up. I feel like I function better. My emotional stability, and resilience I think has improved. Memory has improved for me. I work on my memory all the time anyway, especially with people's names. Your name is Melissa, right? No, I'm kidding.
You're doing great. The hydrogen water's working.
But I enjoy that. But this last little while, like the last little month, has been very interesting. I have had feelings come up. I used to play the French horn when I was in junior high. I was in choir during high school. And now I have this rekindled desire to play the French horn again. And I actually acquired one and have it in my house now. And I definitely don't sound like I did when I was in junior high, but it'll come along.
I should have asked you to bring that. I asked you to bring your special crystal bowl, but I didn't know you had a French horn.
But I'm like, isn't that weird that I'm like feeling expansive and motivated to rekindle some of these things that I found joy in when I was younger, right? Which is opposite of what, as people age, I don't want to become an old oak tree, but it's reversing, I think, this process. And then I joined the choir and started singing again, and I'm like, I'm feeling joy in the process. So there's different aspects, and so when you talk about the quantum effects and the intentions, I guess I'm not overly scientific. Like, let's talk about the molecular structure of the hydrogen itself. It's great. I mean, when it's coupled with water, there's a reason. You have H2O, and it is the foundation. And there's breathing and all that's wonderful, but water is foundational. We're 70% water, maybe a little bit more. Our brains have a lot of water.
Yeah. So let's go there then. So then let's leave the science. And like I said, I'll start releasing 20 and 30 minute like deep dives into some of the science for people who want that. You can just choose into that separately on my podcast, so you guys know. But let's just go a little to the woo-woo side of it. So you had mentioned a lot about intention, and so water is the best conduit and responds with vibration, right?
Yeah,
and doesn't dilute the vibration as much as other mediums. So let's think about that. What are the implications there if you're not only drinking your hydrogen water, or you're aware of intention anywhere that a medium has a lot of viscous kind of water-like material, your fascia, your body, your brain.
Yeah. My last name.
Waterlyn. I don't think that's a coincidence.
I don't think so either.
Me and your son were with someone after yoga today who said, "You're having Trayce on and you're going to talk about water?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "All right, I cannot wait to listen." So this will be the part that he'll want to tap into.
It's so great. I think when it came to some of that intentions, Dr. Emoto's work was pivotal for me. I'll hang up some water. But that type of with my hypnosis background, with influences from Don Tolman, who was the recreator of the bowl that we've talked about, the crystal bowl. So important. So when I started to really get into the water with Echo, I'm like, we're from a religious standpoint, we're commanded, hey, pray over all things. It didn't say some, all things. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to take liberty with that. And so I'm going to pray over my water before I drink it. And I'm like, okay, it's there's my intention. Water's like, hey, tell me what you want. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just let me know. And so the vibration and intention from us as we pour words over our water, the water goes, got it. And I believe that once we start drinking that, then it goes into our system and it begins to direct that intelligence. And are there some areas of my body still haven't been healed that I'm looking for? Yes, there are some aspects, but there's also other aspects of pouring gratitude over that water, thankfulness and appreciation. I don't think that we can fill our souls with enough of that. And so if that's all you want to do, that's great. But I also say, well, then do I have the power, which I believe we do, to command the water to do exactly what I want it to do? And so I pronounce that over the water, and use it as a tool to guide. It's got to be one of the best medicines ever, you know. So with the intention of the water and its intelligence, and then bringing that into my body, and then having it herald that message throughout every cell, is visually and emotionally very, you know, there's substance to it for me.
It's tangible.
Yeah.
And I think it calls back to, don't forget your thought, but I just wanted to mention this, that it calls back to like the essence of you and everything that you have sort of mentioned, even with me and in the scripting of what you're doing, is that intention with your vibration and your command to enlighten everything that you do and empower. So at the end of your shows where you empower them, what you just gave me and our listeners is so empowering, because what do we all have access to?
Yeah.
Water, our bodies,
yeah,
and our intentions. And that, it's so, I love that so much, because it's so empowering that you can be listening to this, and if you didn't have that idea, you can go take a little bit more control over your health and your healing and your intentions, like right now.
And the power that we have, you know, if you look at the vocal cords or the larynx itself, I find this an interesting point. Years ago I read that the tissue of the uterus and the tissue of the larynx are almost identical. I don't know if you've heard that before. And if you bisect those, they almost look alike.
And the pelvic floor and the vocal larynx is
creation and creation.
Yes.
And so we create so much, and we can create that which is growth oriented and a higher frequency vibration, or we can use our words to, you know, it's the tongue is a two-edged sword, has been said, and so you can go both ways with it. But realizing that we have that power, where everything else tells us that we're powerless, we're actually the most powerful. And so watching our words and using good words, neurolinguistic programming is huge for me. I love NLP because it's a way of thinking, but using your words. I love the word help. If you're drowning, it's perfect. Help! It communicates exactly what I know you need. But using the word...
Where do you use the word help?
I prefer to use the word assistance. So, hey, can you help me, you know, lift this chair? No, that's weak. Use the word assistance, because now you're empowering me to assist you. I'm not doing it for you. You're asking for assistance. It's very unique. And so when it comes to our power, watching how we use our words, what words are stronger than others from a frequency standpoint is always very important.
Can you give us another example? So like instead of, because sometimes I'll do my Mary Magdalene meditation and say, Mary, help. But now I can say, Mary, assist me.
Oh, because that's it's going to empower you to come. Well, because she goes, well, how do you want to be helped? Oh, this way. Oh, great. Difference. Big difference. So I think the other aspect is speaking what it is that we want, and not, now I'm doing it, but speaking what we don't want. You know, right. Hey, your child's on the wall walking. Hey, careful, you're going to fall down. You just gave them a suggestion, especially from a hypnotist standpoint, but you've implanted a suggestion and you've taken power away. You've given them a suggestion to fall off the wall. Okay. And so rather than saying don't fall off the walls, make sure you stay steady, you know, or stable, you know. So I want to tell you what I want you to do, not what I don't want you to do. So it says that little, back in the day, it says, you know, don't do drugs. The subconscious mind doesn't see the don't part.
We're telling all the kids to
do drugs. Yeah. So, you know, there's other ways of being able to explain to them what it is that you want. And I catch myself all the time. And my wife and I are really good about, you know, is there another way we could say that? You know, that would be more empowering. But we see it in our society so much, and on the media and everything. It's a different perspective on everybody's looking at, don't do this or watch out for that, and where your focus goes, so does your intention.
Yeah, I just had a big memory of what we all went through for the last 4 years. And I had someone send me a meditation right at the beginning of 2020 that said, stop looking at pictures of COVID SARS-19 and start looking at pictures of your T cells and your B cells and all your immune processes, and send light and focus there.
Yeah,
that would be like an NLP practice, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's and it's just a different way of thinking, and I know when I go unconscious, which I do a lot. I catch myself like, all right, there's a better way of saying that. Yeah. So it's, with customer service, that's one of the things is, I want to have good languaging with the customers. And anyway, so back to the water.
Okay, so we can put these intentions in our water that way.
Yeah.
So actually, what about vibration? And doesn't it make a lot of sense that you've come back to music? Yeah. In this time period as well, because now you have even a more powerful intention when you're singing and playing. Yeah. What are the intentions you do when you're playing the crystal bowl?
Now you got me. I love Einstein when he talks about the imagination is I'll paraphrase, is king, right?
Yes.
And so as I played the bowl when I first started to play, it was thinking more of what we kind of see in our society today, that it's a sound bath, that I'm receiving the frequencies, I'm receiving the waves of information, and then it resonates with my body certain ways, with the chakras, it resonates with the cells, and that's wonderful, and it is a sound bath. But when it comes to the crystalline structure, we got to remember that crystals go both ways. We are a crystalline structure, and so we can receive and we can also send. And so as I play the bowl, there's a process of being able to have it bathe me and receive information, but I also can use it as an antenna or an amplifier to transmit information, to put it not only into the quantum field or the 0 point field, but when I visualize healing for others, then I can bathe them intentionally through the use of the crystal bowl. So when I first started with it, I had an extra house that we were renting, and the people became squatters. And I got frustrated, and finally I'm like, this isn't healthy for me to get this upset about what's going on with them. And so I was playing the bowl one morning, and this thought came into my mind, said, hey, send that house love and intention. See it full of light, see it, the sound of the bowl washing over the house, going into each of the rooms, filling all the corners and dark spaces of that, with the intention that the vibrational frequency of that house would rise, and one of two things would happen with those people. They would either A, be blessed by it and have their intention rise and start paying the rent.
Their actions come into alignment with that vibration. Yeah.
Or they would find it so discordant because they were not at that level of frequency, and they would leave. And 3 days, they were gone. And I'm like, that was so awesome. Because I mean, I don't hate them or anything. I was completely in love with that, and my intention was to raise the frequency. And I was like, that's amazing. So when I play the bowl, I have times where I'm receiving, and there's also times where I'm transmitting and using it as an amplifier. So it's kind of,
that's amazing,
very powerful.
And I think that gives a lot of us, especially my listeners who are yoga instructors or healers themselves, to maybe, if you weren't doing that, or you weren't doing that as intentionally, or maybe the way you were scripting it in your mind or with your language or with your sound can be just a little more aligned for you now in the sound baths they're playing. I'm doing air quotes if you're listening to this audio. But how much more empowering, once again, is that to know that? And will you tell us what's unique about this bowl in specific? Because you guys won't notice it because I have edited this podcast, but when we first started, I asked him to play it. I didn't know I was kind of that under the weather, but we had to pause the podcast so I could have a coughing attack, and I was like, Trayce, did your bowl do that to me? And yet, will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So with the vibrational frequency that's being output, it's going to assist. One of the things I like about this bowl is, number one, it's created by Don Tolman. I think he's up near the Park City area, and it is conical in shape. In the bottom, and he found it looking through Egyptian artifacts. Went to Smithsonian and got permission to actually mic it and do a complete replica of the bowls that the Egyptians were taking these, wonderful deposits of quartz and having the artisans carve a bowl. I mean, just so much time and energy. And so he has taken crystal and has created this bowl. Having it being conical at the bottom, rounded at the bottom, is so important because it's the same dimensions when it comes to the ratios of a person's skull. Okay. So they also called this like a skull session or a skull bowl.
Like the occipital lobe, like it goes back like this.
Yeah, we can see that whole rounded area. That is the same.
That's the bottom of the bowl.
That's the bottom of the bowl. The other thing that's unique about having it conicals, when you look into the bowl, you will see an eidolon sphere, and the eidolon sphere is called that because you can see it in there. It's reflecting all these parts, and it looks like a floating bubble. It looks like a floating crystal ball. But you go to put your hand down there, and it's like, oh, there's nothing there. And so when we meditate and we go into visualization, we're reflecting upon ourselves, and that same eidolon sphere theoretically, mathematically exists in our mind. And so we're getting that wholeness. And so that's one of the beautiful things about that bowl. The other part, when it comes to the eidolon sphere, I looked it up the other day, and another word for eidolon is phantom. And there's some gamers that use this concept, the word as well, and we're not associated with that, but it's a phantom is because you can't see it. Now, I do not have the research on this, and I need to look it up because I haven't, but I was told that in the early days of opera, when the opera singers would sing, and when they were in perfect pitch and harmony with one another, they could hear an overtone. The overtone couldn't be seen, but could be felt and heard. And so therefore it was an eidolon. It was a phantom.
Kind of note or tone that you could feel. And it's not like a binaural beat, right? It's not like a third beat. It's just a little over.
Mathematically, it's a sphere. If you even could break down how an overtone from mathematics becomes a sphere. Well, it makes me wonder if that's where the phantom of the opera storyline, because they were in love with this thing that they couldn't see, but they could feel. So it makes you curious.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, and it's also amazing if you delve deep into sacred geometry and Pythagorean, because when you start measuring and adding up the angles, they hold certain frequencies. So technically, like the circle and then the sphere, when you add up the dimensions and the angles, that is the note C sharp, right? And so that comes back to when we were talking about David's secret chord, F sharp, G minor. That's right. And or G flat, and so I do think I went and revisited some of Pythagorean's 432 hertz and how he was measuring up the angles of each sacred geometry, and they also hold a note as well. And I think that's the first thing I said when you played that. I said, I feel like I'm hearing a top and a bottom.
It's completely whole. That's one, and so I called Don. I said, "Are you going to make other sizes so I could have one for each of the chakras?" And he's like, "No, this is in the mean. It takes care of all of them. It's a complete wholeness." And so that tone, it's F sharp G flat is the tone or the key of David.
Yeah.
And so I relish that. So
does he make more of those?
yeah, you can buy them online.
Okay, people are going to want to know that, so I'm going to tag it in the podcast.
Yes.
Do you guys want to hear it one more time? Can they hear it one more time?
They should. Now, when I was first taught to play it, I would tap one side, the other side, and then the top. And so knock 3 times opens the door.
One side, the other side, and the top. So we're going to have Jace do it like that.
Yeah, just tap it on the side there, Jason. This represents an opening of the door. And then we start to just lightly go around to play it with the dowel. Go ahead, Jace. And so when I first started, I would, the volume is incredible. The hang time is incredible too. Once you even stop playing, it just keeps vibrating. So I would like to sing the vowels. So I would sing A, and I would intune myself with the vowel A, E, I, O, U. Anciently, they represented our senses. A, ears. E, the sense of smell. I, the sense of sight. O, the sense of taste. U, who you are. Your face, kind of a U shape. And so I would sing those vowels along with that, with the intention that I would balance my senses with that of something that is purely balanced. And once that happens and I get my 5 senses like a beautiful quintet, that they would have an overtone.
The Eidolon sphere.
Or the 6th sense.
Or the 6th sense. Wow. Will you run through those one more time while the tone is down? A.
For the ears.
For your ears.
Yeah, auditory.
Auditory.
E.
E, your nose.
For your sense of smell. And then your nose kind of looks like an E if you turn sideways. The I for eyes and seeing. Now these are physical elements as well as the spiritual elements, energetic elements. So A, E, I, and then the O for the sense of taste. Our taste in clothes, our taste in food. And, I mean, there's lots of taste, right? And then U, the sense of your skin, who you are, your sense of touch and feeling. So I love doing it, and it just felt so empowering and holistic. And then inspiration came one day and said, well, you should sing them backwards. You should sing them as a short vowel sound. You've done the long vowel, and now you should do the short vowel, but do it in chiasmatic form and go backwards to the beginning so it's completely one cycle. So it gets really fun. So a sine wave, if you were to draw 2 lines, one on the left and one on the right vertically, and then you were to take a pen and draw kind of like a smiley face and then up to a frowny face, so you have this trough and then a rise. That represents one cycle, whether it be in electricity and so there's a trough and a rise. The long vowels, heavy, full trough. Then reversing everything, going back to the soft, short vowel sounds, and ending back at ah or ah. So you've got A, E, I, O, U, and then I'm like, okay, what's the short vowel for you? Oh, umbrella. Okay, good. And then I'm like, okay, well, I got to go backwards, and so I've got O. That would be like maybe ooh in hoot, ooh. I have to think about it, right? And then I was fine. That was easy for the eyes. I. And then for the nose, like an elephant. And then A, you have an A, but it's ah sound. And so you have this complete, beautiful cycle of vibration that is holistic for the entire body, the brain, your blood system, your heart. I mean, if you really want to, I'm a typical man. I'm like, yep, heart's hard. Dang it. And so I literally have to do things to soften my heart. And I think that like playing the French horn and the singing and doing the bowl having my meditation, having my prayer, doing service for others. These are all things for me that help to assist in recalibrating and softening the heart. So
that's beautiful.
Boy, those are a few things.
I know. I was going to say, wow, where we were just poured upon. I'm feeling so grateful and full and complete, and I can also take note, and I don't know in post-edit if we're going to be able to hear it, so I'm going to make mention of it live. So when you tap in and start talking about some of those things, like when you were saying, I get goosebumps when the truth is coming, just sitting here with you, your voice took on a different undertone, and I can feel it in these when you were doing that. And that was so beautiful, and I think that just speaks to the, like, you have embodied these teachings, right? And you've practiced them for long enough that when you tap into them, you can feel it coming off of your body. You are the instrument.
Yeah, thank you.
And what a beautiful thing. I just,
It's nice for all of us, you and myself, that we're conduits. You know, when I do consulting work from a hypnotist standpoint, none of the healing comes from me. It's not me, but if I can put myself in a position where I can be a more better conduit. Franz Mesmer was one of the original, hypnotists, and he would sit in front of somebody, and he would have them put their hands out like this, so they would have their hands facing up, and then he would place his hands over the top of their hands, and once that starts, he would then look into their eyes, and the hypnotic gaze came from him doing this practice, and he thought that he could bring magnetism, the universe's energy, down through him to you, and this is what's healing you, is bringing that life force back into your body, your cells. We might say grounding today, we might be other terms, but we could just allow the person to heal and then transfer that energy from me to you like a beautiful conduit, and just filling the soul with light, truth, and pure energy. And so that's how he started, and he was a physician, and then he started doing this, and then pretty soon he would put that into a tree, and a person would come to his property and just touch the tree and be healed. He had miracles and wonderful healings.
That's beautiful.
That was the start of hypnosis.
That's amazing. And I want to mention, did you know that in shamanic chanting, we learn to only chant A, E, and O, the masculine and the feminine and the O together. So when you intuitively chant, you use A, E, O. Nice. And when you gaze like that for healing, you left eye gaze. So this is my left eye, and that's your left eye. It'll be transposed for those of you watching this on YouTube. Yeah. But then you only gaze through the left eye as well.
Nice.
And
I didn't know that, so thank you.
I love those little connections. Thank you for sharing that with me. I feel like I got healed, and I got taught, and this was just so expansive. And thank you. But before we end, I always love to ask, is there any message on your heart, or anything you feel like you want to just channel and leave out there for the listeners in the world?
Yeah. So after saying that, first thing that popped in my mind, know that you're not alone. Know that connection is key. Connecting to those that are around us. I believe that as we pass from a physical form to a spiritual form, our ancestors, our family, our friends, they are right there. We just don't notice them. And so they're always there to assist us. We have angels. I mean, we're always, I said, you're never alone. I need to reverse that. There's someone always there. That's the more powerful way of saying it. There's somebody always there. And if you're feeling alone, disconnected, take a moment and say, okay, if I'm not alone, then who's there with me? And I have, my parents are passed. I feel their presence often. I have healing in my ancestors, and they often come and support me. When I'm doing a consulting situation with somebody, their family comes in and they tell me things, and then I have to feed that to their physical and descendants, and so we're always connected, and there's someone always there. Where we just need to choose to see it and feel it. And so we're always connected.
Thank you. That's a gift. I appreciate that. For the housekeeping at the end, how can people get a hold of you? It looks like if you have any events or programs or things coming up, or if you want to tell us, you gave me some websites, and how can people get a hold of you? What do you want to leave here? And I'll put this in the show notes. I'll type it out.
I don't know if it's lazy or just me being that wild child that has used to have blonde hair that just would blow in the wind, and I'd run around like a troll. I have had 32 years of hypnosis, and I've had 32 years to produce a website. It's never come to fruition, and I have attempted multiple times, and so in my future, I'm sure that it'll show up, but it's always been word of mouth, and so getting a hold of me directly, call my cell phone number, 801-850-3135. If you're inspired to call, and if I can pick up, I pick up, and it's just the way I've done. All of my hypnosis shows, all of the consulting has always been word of mouth. And so this is a unique format, for me to show up.
Because so they could also reach me if they know me, and then I could pass it along as well.
Absolutely. So. And then for Echo Technologies, just go to echoh2o.com, echowater.com. So it's Echo, ECHO, H2O.com, and they can reach me there as well. But there's events and wonderful things coming with Echo Technologies. They're good and got good integrity, and I'm looking forward to the advancements that will continue to pour out.
I love that, and that's where I got my picture from. It's their technology as well, so we will plug them and definitely tag them and all the things.
And then Don Tolman, he's just go online. It's just Don, and then Tolman's TOLMAN, and he is amazing. Photographic memory.
Wow.
He can. Oh my gosh, the things I've seen him do, the words that he uses. He loves to play with words, and so if there's any of his books, they're online. But the bowl itself is one of the most beautiful creations. From the moment I first heard him play this, I'm like, I have to have that. And so,
well, I have to have that now. Now that whatever demons it dispelled from me at the beginning of this show. But and then so I just want to say thank you once again. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate your just authenticity and your generosity and sharing and spirit and all of that. Also, my listeners know how to get a hold of me, so I just want to plug, I do have a website. I do, like you, also believe that we run into the things when we're meant to, and it will come about, and we can live in that quantum vein of, complying with whatever 3D or quantum sources we want to, and it'll still come about. So my website isn't brilliant or updated, but it is crystalzenyoga.com. And I do like to play on Instagram. I have a lot of friends and I have a lot of connection on Instagram. Because the best place to reach me is crystalzenyoga.com. And a little link tree that one of our mutual friends taught me how to put something up in a little business format that's like, here's my sessions, here's my things. And so I feel very proud of myself. I have that. That's how you can get a hold of me. And thank you for joining us today. Satnam. Thank you for listening. Connect with me on Instagram at crystalzenyoga. Subscribe on my website at crystalzenyoga.com to receive tools and practices for your holistic journey and to be the first to know about offerings, workshops, trainings, and retreats. We live in powerful times that require courage, bravery, compassion, authenticity, community, and grounding. You're not alone. Check out my free content, classes, and meditations on YouTube under Crystal Zen Yoga, and have a beautiful day. Satnam.